Today we're joined by Matthew Stewart, co-founder of Stuart Lau. Excited to have you on the podcast and learn a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks, John. Good to be with you guys. Happy Friday.
Oh, yes. Happy Friday. So I've talked about your bags on my channel. I've been using it for 7 or 8 months, really into the bags, but I really don't know much about the inception of the company other than, the combination. I think it was Hong Kong and New York. So maybe we can start with you and where you're from, and then we'll learn a little bit more there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm from Baltimore originally, but now spend my time up here in New York. But as you mentioned, there is a component of our brand history that comes from Asia. And so I was out in Shanghai for quite a while, and then Hong Kong subsequently after. My co-founder, Jimmy, is originally from Hong Kong and moved to New York when he was little, but also has, roots in Hong Kong and spent a bunch of time out there. And so for us, it's sort of, we have kind of feet in both places. And that's been a big part of the brand's sort of, DNA and how we got started, and continues to be a part of our messaging and what we do.
So what took you out to Hong Kong?
It was, shortly after college. So it was Shanghai was shortly after college, and I worked out for a while. Hong Kong with Ralph Lauren, working on their business development side, and sort of look at their store openings and help them, do that side of the business. So it was right after my MBA, and I had been out in Shanghai for a little while and was kind of comfortable with the region and thought it'd be an interesting opportunity. So, and that was kind of my first, foray, or my entry into sort of the world of fashion and style.
I see. So you're like a fashion veteran at this point.
Well, you do learn a lot. I would say, I always give a lot of credit to Ralph Lauren as an organization and as a brand, to the effect that, so many great people are there, and you learn so much, and there's so much attention, to detail and attention to how the story is told. And it's a great place to work and sort of, dive in and learn things. In a lot of ways, it is kind of like, doing an MBA for fashion and style and retail, because they do so many things very, very well.
So now, did you had already been in Shanghai, or you went to Shanghai while working for Ralph Lauren?
Yeah, so sorry if that got a little confused there. I went out to Shanghai just after college. It was, 2006, and China was kind of, booming, and there's a lot going on, and it's just kind of going to be a short-term internship, and I was just going to kind of see it before maybe moving back to, moving to New York to pursue a career here. But just really, fell in love with it. It was just such a dynamic place, so much energy. So I opted to stay and found a job in real estate and sort of consulting, helping companies come into China and get set up and sort of navigate the landscape of bringing their operations to China. And so I did that for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Were you always interested in fashion, even like in college or as a younger guy?
I was. I think I didn't really ever perceive it as something I would pursue as a career. It just kind of didn't strike me as that was, it's just something I would do. But it was always something that interested me. It was something I always was, attentive to. And my mother was in fashion and a designer. So I guess some of it came from that. But it just kind of was something, growing up that I was a little bit more focused on maybe than others. And, I can speak for Jimmy. I think he was very much of the same mind. And so as we got to know each other, that was a natural point of connection.
So you were in Shanghai for 5 years, and then you came back for the MBA?
Yeah. It was 5 years out there, and then, that was, it's a long time to be abroad and be away from family and friends. And I was just kind of looking for what the next steps would be in my career, and an MBA was a logical, kind of transition and to take that time to figure that out. And so I came back here to New York to do that. And then, and then the next chapter was Hong Kong.
Nice. And at what point did the idea come about to start a men's accessories company?
Yeah, so very much a classic case of just for want of a better product. Jimmy and myself were at this point living in different cities. Maybe I didn't kind of cover how we got to know each other. We know each other from Shanghai. We both, when I first moved out there, was one of the first people I met, and we just remained good friends ever since. He subsequently moved back to New York, and I, as we just covered, moved down to Hong Kong. But we stayed connected. And on my trips back to New York, we'd always kind of just, chat about what we were looking for in respect to products. And both of us had similar complaints about what we saw out there and didn't feel like anything really spoke to what we needed. At the time, kind of 4 or 5 years ago, a little more, maybe 6 years ago, we had noticed, or we were somewhat frustrated that there was much more focus on like the sort of the leather or sort of the craftsmanship or, made in Italy, made in America, whatever. And I think all of those things are really great, but we didn't feel like there was somebody starting from the proposition of kind of like, how can we take a timeless, very versatile, very classic design and really, inject a lot of functionality into it and focus on how it can be lighter, how it can be more efficient, and just sort of make your commute or make your daily travels that much easier. And so we dove in, and it really, really was just meant to be a sort of passion project that we were going to do on the side and have fun with. And, it just kind of one thing led to another. It snowballed, and we really, throughout the process, realized how much we enjoyed it. And, within a year, we both left full-time jobs to, pursue it full-time.
What was that transition like, leaving the full-time job? Was it like, did you raise money, or was it kind of a leap?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we did not raise money and have not to date. So we keep things very, very lean. And try to be very, cautious with how we spend our capital. It was a big transition to leave sort of the 9 to 5 and jump into this very kind of flexible ad hoc world of just problems kind of come at you and you just kind of are figuring out how to solve them. But it's enjoyable, I mean, it's fun to kind of know that the thing you're doing today is important because you have to do it. It's not, you're not doing it for somebody else. You're not doing it just because it's going to be in some report tomorrow. It's a problem that needs addressing. And so I think one thing I've learned over the few years doing this is that as much as it isn't fun, it still somehow is more enjoyable to be doing it for yourself.
Yeah, totally. How is the development process, though? Did you do that before you had made the jump, or did you jump and then start product development? I'm kind of laughing here because I don't know how much I should share, considering some of it was done on sort of Ralph Lauren's dime. But we were working on it while we were still at our jobs, and so we had a sense of kind of we were ready and prepared to make the leap, to the effect that we had already launched some kind of beta tester bags and some soft launch bags into the market, and felt confident that we weren't just making a blind leap. That's good. Nice. And so at that point, you go make the jump when you're like setting up e-commerce shops and you're ready to go public?
Sorry, to go public?
No, to like launch the brand and get it out there.
Oh, yeah. I was like, IPO. We might be a little ways away from that.
Big step.
That's
bring the world to your project. We kind of got all of our ducks in a row and lined everything up and felt that we were ready. We launched the e-commerce site, and shortly after, we left our jobs. It's a bit of, you also kind of have to, because we wanted to pursue it to the fullest, and you can't kind of do that while you have a day job.
How'd you get the word out when you first started?
Really, friends and family. friends, family, and just really kind of started there. As I mentioned, we had a soft launch that was sort of the beta tester bags, and that was sort of our first 4, 5, 6 months of existence. Working through the kinks and learning our lessons as you do, and getting a lot of feedback from them. And it was only sort of a year later that we really kind of felt confident to really pursue things, more aggressively in terms of PR, in terms of marketing, in terms of all those things.
Well, so when you first started with all those things, like the actual spending money on marketing, was there anything that worked really well at the beginning, and anything that totally bombed, and then has that changed since you've grown?
Yeah. A lot of different lessons learned, I think, in respect to that. We worked with a PR agency kind of right out of the gate to do our formal launch that I mentioned kind of happened a year after we did our soft launch. And they were great. They're fantastic, and they continue to be the people we work with, and we've been in great hands ever since. So we consider that a big success. And, I think that was just sort of a function of how things have been done for a long time, and following a model that was out there in respect to the men's space being very driven by what the magazines, what the sort of gear roundup, I think, now we kind of call them listicles, and, 12 best bags or whatever, like that kind of stuff was very dominant at the time, continues to still be important. But that was certainly, successful for us when we launched. I think where we've struggled a little bit is finding, influencers or people to work with on that front, with the exception of present company included, that have been effective for us. That was something we tried a little bit early on, and it was tough. We were kind of throwing things, into the void, and didn't see a whole lot of return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the idea of influencer marketing is such a big umbrella, and the vast majority of brands that are doing it right now actually don't know how to measure it, or aren't measuring it, and it seems like they're on the other side of things, as a quote unquote influencer. I can always tell how much a brand measures by just what they ask in that first email. If they give you a tracking link, if they give you a code, if they actually follow up and ask for numbers, and most brands don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it seems like it's kind of hit or miss, and I don't know. You really have to. The brands that seem to be winning with influencer marketing are putting a ton of effort. That's one of their main channels, and they're really taking a shotgun approach.
Yeah. I agree. I think you have to really kind of dive in and do it, or maybe retract and not try. It's somewhat binary in that respect. And to be frank, when we started, it was just, it was just getting going. And a lot of the people around then are not kind of around now anymore, because it was just a different model, and it was, kind of just throwing stuff up on Instagram, posting, and kind of just then hoping that people would see it and then navigate their way to, to your website at some point. But it was very hard to track, and it's very nebulous. So we learned some lessons on that front, and it is good to see now that I think it is very, much easier to track, much more sort of numbers driven, and so we're kind of getting back into it.
I'm pretty sure your illustrations are done by Andrew Mashinoff, right?
They are.
When did you get connected with him?
I think I saw one in your video. Is that right?
I did buy his James Bond print. I found him on Instagram at some point, and then I bought the James Bond print, and I replaced the old breakfast poster I used to have.
No, I saw that. I had a chuckle when I saw that. He's amazing, and we're, so grateful for, working with him all really since the beginning. Jimmy was a huge fan of his way back in the Tumblr days, and we just liked sort of the illustrative component of marketing and using illustrations to tell the story. We thought it was just, a little different and fun and playful. And a way to not take yourself too seriously through sort of the more whimsical component of illustrations. And so we were looking for somebody, and Jimmy's like, Andrew, I've been following him for a long time, and we reached out, and I've been working with him for now almost 5 years.
Yeah, I love those. I remember when I made connected the dots. I was like, that's really cool. So that's Tumblr. That's classic. Going back to the web blogs.
Yeah. It's fun to go back and see how his style has evolved, and he's incredible.
So at what point, for me, the main way I learned about you was through the Wirecutter picking you as the best bag. Was that done through some of the PR efforts, and it was just you happen to have the right connections in order to get them to pay attention? Because there's some pretty big brands in their consideration too.
To be honest, they reached out, and we I met Daniel in a cafe and gave him a bag and talked him through what we had been doing and what we loved about it and why we thought it was special. It wasn't any more complex than that. And it's been amazing to get their support.
Yeah, Wirecutter for me is gold standard. I've been a fan of theirs for a very long time, but that's very cool. And so as you're going through now, I know you just redid your line. What are some of the challenges you've had now that you've gotten off the ground?
There are always challenges. We've had challenges certainly in terms of keeping up with demand on the fulfillment side. And, last fall we had, a big spike in demand, and we were just trying to keep up with it all. And so we were in a pre-order situation, and just as these things go, stuff gets held in customs or stuff gets delayed. Zippers don't arrive at the factory, and, there's a lot of stuff that you can't control. And, frankly, we were too optimistic in that sense and didn't build in a buffer. So there were people who were waiting, and we really appreciated their patience. But that was something we learned a lesson on. I think just in general, when, as more orders come through and as more people have, questions and more people have start touching the site, we're just kind of, frankly, overwhelmed in respect to customer questions. And it's great because, men are super passionate about this product category and their briefcase, and, it's right up there with buying a car, apparently, in terms of how much they, put thought into this. And so for us to try to field all those questions, it's been a lot. It's been overwhelming in the past couple of months, and we're looking to figure out solutions on that front without kind of hiring someone full time to do that, because I'm not sure we want to. I think it's still important for our team to be the ones fielding those questions. I still dive in there and field my share of the questions, so that we get that exposure to what the customer's asking, what they want, because it has impact on so many other components of the business, and particularly sort of the website design or the marketing, or what questions we're leaving unanswered that we can maybe cover off on the website and stuff like that. So that's been a big one, and something that continues to be something we're working through.
Nice. Yeah, it seems a little tough because you can't really tell, what. I guess a lot of people that have a problem with their website, or maybe there's something confusing with the user experience, they don't actually ask a question, So if you get the same question more than once, there's probably a bunch of people having that same problem.
Yeah. I mean, just we just launched the 3 different sizes of the briefcase. And, super excited about that. We think it's it's great. We got these sort of something for everybody. And we were just overwhelmed at how many questions that then, fosters. And people are like, well, it's, okay, which one should I choose? I carry this every day. And, we want to give sort of a personal experience in terms of answering those questions. And because it's also helpful for us, because we can understand more about what our customer needs and what they're looking for. So there's a good give and take both ways. But it is, it's a lot to field those every day.
Yeah.
I constantly get asked where the umbrella's from, and I tell them that you guys made it, but You don't.
Yeah.
Then you stop, but now you have a partnership. It looks like with a new brand.
We do, and that would certainly fall in the category of lessons learned, which is, probably sticking in your lane is the best way to go. We dabbled in the world of making umbrellas, and this is really tough because there's just not a lot of factories out there that can make a good quality umbrella for an accessible price. There's sort of artisanal, very heritage, people who do it more small batch. And then there's people who do, mass, and those are sort of like promo giveaway, type umbrellas that they're making for, cents on the dollar kind of thing. And so we really struggled to find somebody that could, deliver on sort of a $35, $45 umbrella. And we felt like we were kind of there, but at the end of the day, the quality it just wasn't, it wasn't aligned with the quality in our bags. And we felt like we were under delivering on the customer experience with the umbrella. And so, we decided that wasn't something we should do anymore. But that said, we, and opened a door to work with Fox Umbrellas, who's, they've been doing it for 180 years. They're just amazing quality. They know what they're doing. They're super easy to work with. And the product is, just, night and day difference between what we were producing. They really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching a Doug DeMuro video. He does car reviews, and he was reviewing a Rolls Royce, and there's an umbrella that comes out of the door. And I was like, I'm going to buy one of those umbrellas. And they sell them on eBay for $500. And I was like, I'm not going to buy one of those umbrellas.
Yeah. Umbrellas are tough. It's very it's two ends of the spectrum, very expensive or very cheap. There's not a lot in between.
I know. That's definitely why yours definitely threaded that, but it's cool to see the new partnership, because the other one I looked at was like Kent Wang. And so maybe I need to do an umbrella video next. That sounds like, I've had a couple of requests for it.
Well, yeah. They produce for Kent Wang, and they produce for a lot of people. They're an OEM.
Okay, maybe I'll have some questions for you later. But so there's a segment we do on the show where it's just rapid fire questions, so quick 1 or 2 word answers that you're totally unprepared for. Are you ready?
I'm totally unprepared, so I guess I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, Oxfords or Brogues?
Oxfords.
Morning shower or evening shower?
Morning shower.
Cardio or lifting?
Cardio.
What was the last book you read?
The Patagonia founder's sort of autobiography about how he started Patagonia, which I highly recommend. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list. I listened to an interview with him not too long ago, and I was really into it. Chinos, jeans, or trousers?
Chinos lately. Yeah.
Your favorite Bond actor?
Connery.
Loafers or sneakers?
Sneakers.
If you're wearing a suit, navy or charcoal?
Charcoal.
And if you're getting in the shower, you want to pump yourself up, what song are you listening to?
Like for real, or like?
Oh yeah, for real.
What I would tell people. I think maybe some of Kygo's stuff. It's got some good energy. Yeah.
People have said Taylor Swift. It's okay.
Yeah. You were worried I was going to say Justin Bieber or something.
Yeah.
Hey, it could be anything. Well, hey, you survived rapid fire. Very nice.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Glad I did.
So you got things. Seems like things are rolling. You got some questions you got to handle there. But what are you most excited about in the next 6 to 12 months in the business?
Hands down, we're opening a store. So we are opening on Crosby Street in New York, and we're just doing the renovations now and getting it all sorted. But it should be open, just sort of a soft launch, get the doors open in July, and then a full launch in the fall. That's going to be a big step for us, a big milestone, and we've got some really good brands that we're partnering with that are coming in, and it just is, it's exciting for us to sort of bring it to life in a physical space. So I'm super pumped about that.
Down on the Soho retail playground.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit intimidating. You're kind of in there. It's the big leagues. But we're going to dive in. We're going to do it.
Nice.
That's great. Congratulations. So people want to keep an eye out for that in the next few months here. Well, Matthew, thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling your story. Very cool to learn more about that. And, people can check out the website if you want to see more about the bags. I did a video a few weeks ago, so you can see that as well. And highly recommended from me. And we will catch up with you in the future, maybe after the store.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And thank you for having me today. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to the Buttoned Up Podcast, a collaboration between John Shanahan of The Cavalier and Brock McGough of Modest Man. And we will see you next week.